sa pripojila k našim slovenským podujatiam v plnom počte. Dovolte mi privítať v našom štúdiu Barborku Dejovú, ktorá študuje po maturite na Vysokej škole Carleton v rámci vedy. Okrem toho, že je jedna z pár žien, čo študuje vedu, taktiež bojuje za právu žien.
Well, Barbara, welcome to our studio. We understand that you are now a graduate student at Carleton University in, of all things, science. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. I'm in engineering.
In engineering?
Yes.
How many women are there in engineering?
Well, there's a good number. Depends what university you go to and I guess what country. But at Carleton, it's not so bad. I had a good few in my class, but I had a very specifically small program. So.
My understanding, of course, is that science, mathematics, physics, and those sort of things are often considered not suitable for women. And you, I apparently, are a big executive of some organization promoting women in science. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. I'm the external executive of a group called Women in Science and Engineering. And our goal is to promote women into science and engineering, as well as support current women in science and engineering, and have social events and provide role models for them. So we've been doing this for about 2 years. We rebuilt the program and it's going pretty well.
Is this based only at Carleton, or will this be a national organization?
I believe they have WISE, Women in Science and Engineering, all over Canada. So the group I'm involved in is at Carleton, and it's a student branch of Ottawa WISE.
WISE is a sort of a nice little name for something like this, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Do you believe that women are wise enough to go into, say, particle physics and engineering and art sciences like that? There are some psychologists who will tell you that evolution has made it necessary for men to do well in math and physics and forces and that, but not for women, and that is why women don't go into that field. What's your experience, and what do you believe?
Well, I think there's a lot of different opinions out there, and I'm not really well studied in this kind of field, but I have heard that one big reason is just not having role models necessarily. I think the women and the men are both perfectly capable. There are studies that say that women and men in high school both do equally well in math, for example, and it's just the women that say, you know, I'm not so good at math because they got a 70. But the males, when they get 70, you know, they're a little more confident. They say, of course, I'm good at math. So there are mixed studies, I guess. I've heard more the equal capabilities story.
How have you found when you applied? Were you considered a bit of a freak to come into this kind of thing?
No, actually, in engineering, it's not so bad. I think it's a little worse in computer science. There are less women, and I heard a few more, you know, discriminatory comments and stuff like that in that field. But I was pretty good. I got a lot of help. I felt at home with everyone. It was a little different that I had mostly males around me, but I got used to it, and I was used to it. I have a brother, and it's not so bad for me.
And have you found that the professors who might have been an older generation have a different attitude towards women than your fellow students, who, even though they're mostly male?
That might be possible. I'm sure that is the case in many times, and not the case in other times. But actually, my experience is that the older ones are a little more accepting of the women, and they understand what they're going through, whereas the younger ones are just like, oh yeah, you guys are just feminists and trying to, yeah, that kind of stuff.
Do you consider yourself a feminist as such, or is this just...
If you look at the definition and you understand it in a positive point, then I do consider myself a feminist.
You remarked on what you said were a lack of role models in this field, women role models. Do you intend to become a role model?
Oh yes, of course, especially for my kids, if I ever have any. And right now, I think I'm a role model for the younger girls, the undergraduate students, or I try to be. I try to mentor them, I try to give some advice, and they come to me if they need it or if they don't. Yeah, I wouldn't mind working on that, becoming even more of a somebody.
Well, what field of research actually would you be interested in your electrical engineering? Because looking at your CV, you did some work on detecting landmines, which doesn't sound like electrical engineering, and solar panels, which I guess is related in one ways, but not necessarily the electricity, but the absorption of light, particle physics, that sort of stuff is.
Yeah, all this stuff is surrounded by the topic of physics and electronics, and usually there's just a mix of both. Solar cells is a mix of both for sure. Landmine detection is a little more just the physics, and the particle physics is quite just physics. I actually realized I'm not really into the physics per se, like that deep. I like to mix my knowledge in different ways, and actually also use my communication skills. And that's one thing that a lot of people or young people don't understand, that engineering is not just working with machines. Let's say if I say I'm an electrical, they think that I just work with circuits and it's extremely boring and I'm in a cubicle and I wear my nerdy glasses. But it's really not like that. You can choose to be very communicative and manage projects, work in a team, and help people. Engineering really helps people.
Well, what came of your research in solar panels into the absorption of light?
What came of it?
Yes.
That is a very
what were the results?
That is a very good question. I don't have results because I did not end up doing that research. I switched out of that into something else. So I'm starting anew, I guess. But it would have been very interesting. I just didn't feel that I had the knack for the pure electronics. I had to know a lot of that. I wanted something a little more broad. I was thinking even biomedical or something. There are so many options. Engineering gives you just the base to do whatever you want, really.
And what about the landmines? It's not something that women usually hang around every day doing while they're doing the cooking in the kitchen.
Oh, yes. That was a very fun project. We pretty much, or I pretty much, I would heat a landmine with microwaves, not actual microwave, just the waves through a waveguide, and I would detect them through an IR camera, so it would detect the heat. And then you kind of just take a look at the picture, and that it's called a signature, and see the colors and where it's the hottest and where it's not. It turns out it wasn't the best technique, because if there's rocks on it, the rocks get heated and the landmine does not, and you can't find it. But it's a good start to starting to figure out how to be able to detect landmines in the future.
Oh yes, and very likely even that technique itself, maybe with some refinements, would still find some use or still be useful.
And it's a very, very useful thing. Yeah, they're really looking into that kind of stuff because people are dying all the time from stepping on landmines.
You haven't visited Bosnia lately, have you?
No.
No. I ask that because for other reasons I was in Bosnia a year ago, and one of the things you were warned about was that there were landmines all over the place, and they still have not been able to find them. They still really don't know how to do it. That's why I was so interested in your techniques.
Yeah.
There's a future for you in that.
Yeah, I did a variety of research things.
So let's look at the future. Are you planning on further education? Are you planning on getting a job? And if you're planning on getting a job, is there any job?
Well, actually, I could tell you a very interesting story. I heard that there was a counselor in a high school who told a student that if you're a woman in engineering, you have less chance to get a job than if you're a male in engineering. I actually think, and this has been confirmed, that you're probably more likely to get a job as a female because you're a female, and maybe their company is trying to get more females so that there's more of an equal gender gap. If they don't consider that, even then, I don't think they don't consider you because you're a female. That's completely, I do not see that happening. I think there are a lot of job prospects in a lot of things, even nuclear engineering. I actually don't have any nuclear engineering background, and there was a company that was interested in me because I have an engineering background versus a chemistry and physics and the pure sciences, and they like the way we think. And they were willing to train me to learn that kind of stuff, the nuclear stuff that I haven't learned yet. So I think there are a lot of opportunities.
Well, on that optimistic note, let's wish you and every other Slovak girl a brilliant future career in engineering. And let me know when you win the Nobel Prize.
Oh, I will. Thanks. Thank you for having me.